Thank you so much, Tasmina, and thank you for welcoming me today to this extremely important forum. Continues through the forum and its work, so this is an honour and privilege to attend today, and again, thank you so much. I have very fond memories. Started in the Parliament. I came NHS, and I always remember his words back to me were, well, don't worry about it, we'll buy you a globe and you'll be fine. So we were. It gave me my work throughout the career I had in Parliament. Should have a psychologist. Having been there, psychologists should be in parliaments because they all need one. So I don't have a tech background is really why I'm telling you that. So I'm here to talk about tech, AI, and crypto, digital assets, blockchain, all the terminology that we now hear day in, day out. Again, it's one of these quirks of Parliament that when you're thrown in, you're often asked to do things that are not quite your thing, but you health. So 4 years ago, I was asked to chair the Digital Assets Group in the UK Parliament, the Crypto and Digital Assets Group, which was the first of its kind. And up until that point, because we checked, there had been no debates in the House of Commons on cryptocurrency or digital assets. So in a way, we were kind of behind the population. The reason I was asked to do it is a constituent had lost a lot of money. Lots of people have lost a lot of money in this sector. Some people have been fortunate and gained a lot of money in this sector, but my constituent had lost money and said, who in the Parliament is doing this work? How do I get redress? What about regulation? And I said, well, I will find you this person and then I can put you in touch. So of course I started to search. There was no group at the time. There was no person. We had a debate and Lords were ahead. They'd already had some debates, but nothing in the UK Parliament. So I'm back to the constituent and said, I'm very, very sorry, but there's no one doing this work. I feel that, you know, I haven't been able to kind of give you what you want. And he said, well, why don't you do it then? And I thought, oh, I don't know anything about it. Anyway, I got in touch with Crypto UK and had a discussion with them about the lack of understanding, I think, within Parliament on these issues, including my own, and how we could get some consumer protection and regulation established in the through the House of Commons, through the group. So we managed to get the cross-party support we needed to form the group. And then, lo and behold, 5 years ago now, I became chair of the cryptocurrency group. So all of a sudden, I had all of these tech bros coming to the Parliament to meet me from all around the world, telling me about the work they were doing. And I realised straight away, because often I didn't understand what they were talking about, that they had a totally different language to the political language I was by then used to. they came to the Parliament, they would use terms DeFi, they would talk about crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain, throw them out all onto the table. And the MPs would sit there. And I always remember in one of the events we had, we were talking about DeFi, we were talking about blockchain technology, which I'll come on to. We were talking about AI. Of course, all the technologies will converge. And then someone started to speak about, we were obviously speaking about, various types of aspects of the economy. And someone mentioned fiat. And one of the lords said, fiat, I understand that, that's a car. And I thought, no, we're not speaking about cars. And then I realised we have such a huge gap in our understanding. So we went to the public and we looked to see how many people were involved in the sector of digital assets at the time, and found way back 5 years ago, 4 million people in the UK were already involved. So our Parliament was actually behind the people, in a sense, in our learning. The next thing that happened, which really widened my horizons, was when Baroness Uden, who's been very key to the developments in the UK Parliament on technology, invited the Children's Parliament to come to speak to us. So there we are in the room. We have the children representing the different aspects of United Kingdom constituencies, all in the room from age, how old were they, Baroness? 7. Up to 15 or so, yes. They're in the room, the MPs are in the room, and the members of the Lords are in the room. And one of the first questions that came was, who understands the term Web3? Well, all the children had their hands pretty much up in the air, even the 7-year-olds, Hardly any MPs had their hands up in the air. Not very many members of the House of Lords either had their hands up in the air. And that's when it kind of dawned on me that actually we as parliamentarians need to upskill ourselves, not just to learn for ourselves, but for the next generation, to make sure we give them the opportunities to achieve their potential in this new world, because our world has become digital. We can't shift time backwards. We can't, I think it was mentioned this morning about industrial revolutions and how Scotland has played a huge part in this from former First Minister. This is very true, but we can't take back time, because many people in Parliament said, well, I don't think we're going to be doing this here. Maybe other parliaments can do it and we'll just kind of sit and wait. But those children said very clearly, this is about our jobs of the future. This is about our opportunities. We want to learn, we want to be engaged. So as parliamentarians, we started to work very, very hard on having educational sessions in our parliament to upskill ourselves, to bring us up to date, not just with the population, but also with the children of the country as well, who were miles ahead in terms of their technological knowledge. So we worked very, very hard over 4 years. We appeared at conferences all over the world trying to work out what was happening internationally. We tried to think about not just how the tech sector would bring growth to the economy, but also about blockchain for good, and how we could look at social impact use cases. We spent time with the United Nations looking at how new types of currency were helping people who were unbanked across the world, in terms of, yes, we have very, very good if I want to transfer money from my bank, we have very good services in the UK. We can do it within a very quick time. But in some countries of the world, that doesn't happen. And people feel that perhaps there's depreciation. We had representatives from Argentina saying lots of people there use different types of currencies because they have felt that their own currency has depreciated and they want something, in their instance, pegged to the US dollar. So these shifts and movements are happening globally, and we need to look at what's happening. We need to look at how it intersects, all of the technologies, AI, robotics, digital currency, blockchain technology will all converge over time. And again, I think we're in a new industrial revolution, a digital revolution, which our children are very native with, and as parliamentarians, we must get up to speed with. So we took MPs to Switzerland, didn't we? To the Blockchain Academy. I think we were given about 2 out of 10 for our, for our academy outputs. But one of the things that we noticed when we attended the Blockchain Academy was when we went into the room as parliamentarians, we were put at the front, we all filed in at the front, sat down, and then the break came, and we turned around to look at and meet with other people in the room. A sea of men. Out of 120 people in that room, 3 women. 3. It was one of the first times I've ever gone to the toilet and not had to stand in a queue, I have to say, at a conference. But, you know, we must make sure that this digital technological revolution is inclusive and that it brings everybody with it. Because we're not going to develop the type of AI, the type of digital assets, the type of progress that we need if it excludes major parts of our populations, people with disabilities, if it excludes women in terms of development. So we have to make sure that we as politicians take the lead and take a lead role, and we don't leave this to tech bros who came to see us and had their ideas for what this should look like for the world. It's very, very important that regulators and policymakers are at the forefront, and that we grasp this opportunity for those children who came to visit us, who told us what they need and they want in terms of their educational system, their workforce opportunities for the future, but that we also look at some of the ethical aspects, and we look at how things are shaping, and that we take a real avid interest in this. Because there are also concerns, as the Baroness has outlined, but there are also, in addition to that, things that are very positive that are happening. When we went to the UN, we learned about how aid programs will be utilising blockchain technologies to make sure that the funding goes to the recipient, and that their level of corruption that taxpayers complain about so much in our aid system is reduced and diminished, and we can show how the money has been transferred and that it reached the person of intended need. As I mentioned, we can support the work of the Sustainable Development Goals in relation to making sure that people who don't have access to banking and finance have access to banking and finance as we move forward. And we had the digital, Deputy Digital Minister from Ukraine come to speak, which is a very poignant memory of mine in Parliament, who said that when traditional banking failed at the start of the conflict, that the funding was sent to those in the country through cryptocurrency. So this is a big mixed bag, isn't it? There are positives and there are negatives, but what we know is we can't push water up the hill. This is coming, it's coming. You can see how quickly it's coming from the videos that we saw. So what do we do about it? I left Parliament last year and told my husband I was going to relax and retire. And I've never been busier, actually. He says, what happened to this plan? But no, we've been taking the education sessions that we built in the UK Parliament. We had some sessions in the Spanish Senate this year. They were very, very interested in learning. We went to the European Parliament and held forum sessions there with MPs from different countries coming. And they said very openly, we don't often speak about this because we don't feel skilled enough, and often we're frightened or worried about saying the wrong thing or that it's incorrect technologically. So a lot of the message has been, we're the policymakers in the room. We don't have to be the technical experts, but we do have to shape the policy, because if we don't, this is shifting anyway. And it's going to shift with those leading it that perhaps have technological expertise, but they don't understand the impact on communities, and they won't factor in the social good that we need to make sure is at the core. So we developed, after I left Parliament, the Legislators Forum in Digital Assets, which is global. We're very keen to bring it to your parliaments, to bring MPs from other parliaments to your parliament as well, because it's global. A bit like this forum, it brings people from all around the world, because there are different regulatory frameworks globally in different jurisdictions. And it's very important that policymakers understand what's happening in different places, so that they know where they sit relative to the policy and regulation that's being developed elsewhere internationally, but also so that they can have discussions with policymakers to inform them about their journey and as to why things have gone in certain directions in certain jurisdictions. Because this technology industry, if I lump it together like that, digital technology is going to converge, but it's global. It's a global industry. It doesn't recognise borders. And one of the things about when we went to meet with the coders and the developers and the geniuses really of the future in Switzerland at the Blockchain Academy was that they actually viewed policymakers a bit with suspicion, I would have said at the start, didn't they? It was kind of like, oh, we don't, this is decentralised. What do we need with politicians? We're doing something kind of, out with policymakers. However, I think that's why we need to double down all the more. This cannot be allowed in terms of its development to continue without our input in making sure that it has all the core features we need of security and of safety and of ethics and of development, making sure that it's inclusive and that it's for good. So please reach out. We're going to Washington to speak with the Crypto Task Force in October. If you're interested in coming to that delegation, then let me know. If you would like to have international parliamentarians who have an interest in tech development come to your parliament to meet with you, to include you in the forum, or if you want to come to the schedule of meetings that we have over the next 12 months, we're in Washington, then we're in Davos in January, and we're going to be in Croatia next year as well so far, and the House of Lords again. So please reach out, please let me know of your interest, and I'll make sure you're included, because now more than ever, I think we need global ambassadors across all of the parliaments for emerging technology, frontier technology. It's with us, it's going to define our futures, and who other than parliamentarians should be at the core of this development? Please don't sit on the sidelines is my message to you, because we can only make sure that things are developed in the right way together. And this is a crucial time. You see how fast this is moving? People come to Parliament and have spoken to me and said, yes, we've had revolutions before in industry. This isn't just industry. It's art. Art's becoming digital. It's sports. Sports teams are becoming digitalised. They're doing so much now in terms of their advertising, etc. A lot of the new adverts are in games. It's touching everything. Health records will be in the blockchain. And if you go over to Dubai, you will see that the property that's bought and sold will also be on the blockchain. So this whole seismic shift is about our economies, but it's also about our art, our sport, our culture, and it's massively changing and shifting. Parliamentarians have a key role. That's my message to you. Please get in touch. Baroness and I are doing a huge amount of work on this to make sure you're kept abreast with all developments that you need, that you're included, and that together we can make sure that technology develops in a way that includes the communities that are often left behind, that makes sure that no one, such as large groups like women and people with disabilities, are not at the helm of how things are developing, and making sure that, you know, this is ethically led, because this is our children's future. It's not just about their job opportunities, it's actually about their future. So, thank you for having me. It's a massive privilege to be here and to speak, and just to give you the gist of the journey we've had so far. If I can learn about this, anyone can learn about this. And as a final note, people said to me, oh, but you're a psychologist. Robots and technology will never take your job. People will always need psychologists. Well, I opened avatar therapy. In London, in Manchester and Glasgow, there are now pilots of avatar therapy. And you know what? The patients don't wait anymore in a big list for months, and they prefer the avatar to the psychologist. So pretty much technology is reshaping our workforce in ways that we never ever imagined. And this is a time for your involvement. So please rush to be involved and don't let it go forward without you. Thank you.